So everything that's going on business-wise, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, you're not being represented here as a businessman. That's greatly impacting every single person in this district.
Well, they're not taking my taxes in the meantime, right?
Oh, they're definitely taking your taxes.
They're still getting my
They're
taxes?
still paying you. You getting taxed with no representation. Where we hear that before? There's wars because of that.
Welcome back to the Talk Midland podcast. My name is Logan Richetti with Modern Realty. Today I have Amir Hassan running for the United States Congress, 8th District of Michigan.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
First shot.
Your first shot. Yes, sir.
Thanks for your time. And we've already started getting to know each other a little bit.
Absolutely.
You have a very interesting story. I'd like to start, if you don't mind, with your backstory.
Okay.
Where you come from.
Okay.
And then get into why you're running for Congress and what your vision is for the future.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Logan. And this is a great opportunity. Amir Hassan, I'm born and raised in Flint, Michigan. A proud Flintstone, son of a mother who was an educator and a father who worked at General Motors. I am a descendant of General Motors, a son of General Motors. My whole family, minus my mother, worked in the shop some way, somehow. And so grew up in the city, loving the things we love there. The Michigan Wolverines, Detroit Lions, the Pistons, Red Wings. Played all sports growing up. Football, basketball, baseball in high school. Graduated Flint Northwestern High School. In the Saginaw Valley Conference, we played Midland, Saginaw, Bay City. The greatest times growing up. Beautiful time. From high school, I went into the Navy. I enlisted in the Navy. I became a military police officer, what we call a master at arms. I served in Guantanamo Bay and Saginaw, Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, my first 2 years, and so that's in reverse order. I went from boot camp to school in Texas to Saginaw, Italy as a 20-year-old.
Wow. What was that like?
It was a beautiful time. Looking back at it, you don't realize how much of a culture shock it was at the time because you're just living it. But it was something I encourage all people to really do is go serve and go serve abroad. Living in a different country, you can see where our country stacks up. You can see the pros and some things you may not like and want to change, in your country. The convenience of America is unparalleled. You go to Italy, it's all mom and pop stores that close by 10 p.m. So when you get hungry at midnight, there is no CVS, 7-Eleven, Burger King to go through. Mind you, this is 2006 before DoorDash and everything. So if you don't have it in your room, listen, you're fasting. It's a beautiful country, but at the same time, they're not America. They don't have the understanding that America has. They don't have the pride America has. And that's what I realized as a 20-year-old. This is not where I want to be because they don't have the same understandings of freedom that we do. You understand? That's what provides. And I would not gain that perspective without being shipped over there on the behalf of America. And then the beautiful thing is, that region of the world, we had other armies and militaries coming to base. So we had the English Royal Navy come in. We had German Navy came in, or German Army. You get to see up close and personal, right? And then you have conversation with them. Then you understand, like, oh, now history makes a little bit more sense now, right? Now it makes sense why we behave the way we behave and why we legislate the way we legislate. Because if not, we may end up like them, right? We might end up. The thing about Italy, they stand guard with guns with no rounds in their guns. Makes zero sense, right? They have to call their supervisor to come bring them a magazine, and that just shows you the little bit of freedom. When we talk about Second Amendment, this is in the military. So imagine their homes; they have no protection, right? And that's why they have the issues they have over there. And this is I'm not disparaging the Italian community or anybody of Italian descendants. I'm just saying the differences between America and other countries. And these are allied nations, right? And so that gave me a world view of America's place in the world, a global view of America's place in the world and what it means to truly be American and the perks that are provided by the military and the American construct.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
I appreciate it.
And I can only imagine that kind of experience helped shape who you are today and your obviously your worldview. When you came back from the Navy, what was the next thing that happened?
So after the Navy, after After Italy, we went to Cuba in Guantanamo Bay. Then after Guantanamo Bay, I went to a intelligence squadron where I cross-rated from a master at arms to intelligence specialist, and that's where we started doing piracy operations and submarine hunting in South China Sea.
Wow.
And so that was the next iteration of my Navy career, and that also gave you world perspective. Right now, we're really getting into enemy forces. We're getting into oppositional forces, and being an intelligence specialist, you understand that you get the full picture of how we're being attacked. And not just the covert, but the overt things too that people just goes over their head. But you realize then, like, oh, this happened because they're trying to get this little piece to make this piece over here work. And you may not see it, and it may be a long-term play, but it's happening. And that's what I'm speaking of now in my campaign. We are under attack in this country. My America First platform is simply, if it's not about America, nothing else is going to get on my priority list. Everything, all my decisions and things I promote are about keeping Americans, and American interests safe and first. Point blank, period. There's no personal, there's no bias. It's America first. That's formed because I was overseas fighting for this country. It was formed because I was an intelligence specialist and I understood the threats against this country, and I understand the threats against this country. That's where it happened. But to your initial question, after the Navy, I took a brief time to go to school. I got out the Navy, I moved to DC for a minute, and I went to school. I went to school to become a teacher initially. So I was going to be a high school teacher. History matters, right? And understanding history, actually reading it for yourself, interpreting what's happening, how we got there then, and what the leaders of the past did. I feel that's the most important subject in high school. Now, it's a lot of stuff in high school that I don't agree with at this point. We need to change the national curriculum, but history needs to stay, and it needs to be told in a truthful way, right? We tell it in a truthful way. I think that would instill the pride that we're missing in a lot of young folks to this day. So after that, I finished my associate's, secondary education history. Then I went back to work. I went to the federal government as a Department of Navy or Department of Defense, Department of Navy police officer, short amount of time. I did that for a year on a Navy base in DC. I went from there to Homeland Security, Federal Protective Service of Homeland Security, which is they're responsible for protecting all federal buildings, entities, and personnel in the federal government across all states and territories, right? I did that in New York for a couple years in New York and then a few more years in DC. And then after Federal Protective Service, I went to Department of Transportation as a executive protection agent for the last two administrations, most currently with Secretary Duffy of Transportation, Secretary of Transportation now. I was one of his lead detail agents.
Okay, that's let's talk about that. That's interesting. My brother did that a little bit.
Yeah. Nah, listen, it's not as sexy as people think it is. It's a lot of standing up. If people have ever been in the White House or anything, those marble floors are the hardest floors ever known to man. You know, the rubber soles are much needed. Your knees and your ankles, you know how it is. We're getting older at this point. 40 years old and above, you know, your knees hurt for no reason. And so it's a lot of hurry up and wait. It's a lot of standing by, but it's a lot of vigilance as well. It's a lot of understanding. So you understand your purpose because then you have something tangible. I have my protectee in front of me, and I have a sea of unknown right behind surrounding us. So you and your team have to be on point. So when we talk about a unified vision for this campaign, we're talking about a unified vision, all 4 counties plus Tuscola being on the same wavelength so we can go against the true opposition. That's what I get that from. Because in a team atmosphere, it doesn't matter what their political understandings were, their social, where they're from, what they believe, their faith. We have a mission to accomplish, and that's protecting this man at all points. It doesn't matter what administration you're protecting, and that's the thing I want people to know about law enforcement. When you're law enforcement, you have an understanding of the job at hand. You can put aside all differences, and military as well, to accomplish that job. You have the leader, you have the commander-in-chief, in which in this term will be President Trump. He gives us our orders. It's in the best interest of America. We make that happen, and we get behind them. And that's how we move in the military and in law enforcement. That is the unit we come from. And so that's what we did in the Department of Transportation. I'm biased to that team. Great leadership, great teamwork amongst the team. A lot of time, a lot of sacrifice. You miss a lot of birthdays. You miss a lot of soccer games, first nights, last nights, date nights. So it's a family effort. It's a team effort. You know, it was from years I was going 200 days out the year.
Wow.
And so you spend more time with your protectee and their family than you do with your own. So for that sacrifice, the protectees owe to be truthful, right, and spreading their message and doing with their due diligence, and we're supposed to do the same. So,
well, that's a pretty extensive career of serving and protecting others, and between the intelligence and the the General Navy Service, and then of course the police work and the executive protection. What shifted your focus to politics?
Well, getting into DC and working in executive protection, part of that is being next to the protectee at every single event. And so you get behind the scenes, behind the curtain, per se. And it's a few things. When I'm sitting in Capitol Hill and I'm hearing these meetings, first of all, I'm looking for representation from Michigan. I'm looking for my district because I'm a Flintstone Michigander before I'm anything else, right? Born and raised here. This is what I know. This is what I bleed. And I'm not seeing it. And then, serving time with both administrations, I heard things from, previous administrations that I wasn't agreeing with. And I was seeing the pathway forward. I'm like, well, that doesn't apply to me and my family, how I think we should go forward. And I'm not hearing the opposition strong enough, view. Like I'm not hearing them push back strong enough. And it's not representing the people where I'm from. Like the commonalities we have in this district are uncommon anywhere else. You can tell you mean a Michigander, right? You can tell, especially from the Saginaw Valley Conference. You can tell because we're just more solid. We look you in the eye. We're much more blue collar, much more everyday man, working woman, solid. We're not with the fluff and the fugaziness of these other places. That needs to be represented there. Somebody once told me, if you want to see the change, you have to be the change. Don't wait for somebody else to come do it for you. That was it. It was nothing more, nothing less. I saw change that needed to be. I thought I could make an impact. I thought I could be that.
Walk us through the district, because a lot of people listening probably don't even know what is involved, and a lot of us just don't know these things. We're not as close to the political landscape as people running for Congress and whatnot.
Right.
Can you describe for me even what sections, what counties, areas that you're representing?
So the 8th Congressional District of Michigan represents Midland, Saginaw, Bay County, and Genesee County.
Wow. With
a sliver at Tuscola County. So the breakdown is 52% of the district is Genesee County, and then 9% is Midland County, and the rest is between Saginaw and Bay City. That's the percentages wise. But if you live in these cities and these counties, you are part of the 8th district. So everything Genesee starts, I believe Genesee starts in Fenton, that area all the way up through Bay City. So it's a pretty large district. It's a pretty large district. It's been congressionally held by Democratic leadership since the 70s.
I was going to ask you that.
70s.
Because a lot of Bay City leans more Democrat.
Yeah, right? Well, Bay City, some, not a lot, but some lanes, but Bay County as a whole is red, right? So,
is it?
Yeah, Bay County as a whole. Bay County and Midland County as a whole are red.
Okay.
Saginaw is more purplish, and then Genesee County is blue. With that understanding, though, President Trump won this district.
Interesting. Who is the current 8th district representative?
That is Kristen McDonald-Rivette.
Oh.
And so she is the incumbent. She's the first time congressional member.
And she was one of the few that won the Democratic election in a state like Michigan that went Republican, right? Is that
correct?
She was a little bit of an anomaly?
Well, maybe nationally, but not here because this district has been held by Democrats for.
Got it.
And before Midland was gerrymandered into this district, Midland was in a red district before. You have to understand this district is R1, meaning it leans to the right by 1
degree.
1 degree, right? Whereas in Detroit, it's D22 in some of theirs. So that shows you this is a more balanced district. So people want to hear common sense. They want to hear policies. They don't want to hear the divisiveness. They really want to talk about policies. That's who we are in this district. However, the Democrats have had this district, the 8th district, in the chokehold for half a century because we know, you had a long-term standing congressman. He was there from the 70s to the early 2000s.
Who was that?
Dale Kildee.
Okay.
Dale Kildee came in the 70s. He didn't leave until maybe the teens, 2012, somewhere around there. And then his nephew, Dan had it for a few terms, maybe 3-4 terms. And then Dan brought in KMR. And that's how the Democratic. So I ask anybody from this district, is today better than yesterday? That's a simple question. Do we have more jobs than we did yesterday? Do we have a population increase or decrease? Educational opportunities, infrastructure. Do we have more or less than when they started? So if somebody gets a job and when you start, you're at a 9. When you finish, you're at a 3. And there's been nothing to improve. And it's steady. The only consistency they had was consistent destruction, decimation over 50 years. I simply say, okay, well, maybe we should attack this from a different angle. Maybe we should look at some different voices and different people who have different ideas how to get it done, because we're suffering because of selfishness, because of party politics, because you want to hold a chokehold on a seat and do nothing with it. Where is the return on the investment for the people that invested their vote into that party, into that leadership? There are none. There isn't any. And it hasn't been that way. And then look at what they're pushing. The left is talking about they want to make sure SNAP benefits and welfare, which is welfare. For anybody who doesn't know, SNAP is welfare, right? SNAP benefits and minimum wage. They're speaking of minimum wage. Well, we're a district of middle class. Why aren't we talking about more job opportunities that provide middle class right away? Mm-hmm. So that's what I speak on. Let's get into the trades. If we're not going to have super big infrastructure come right away today, well, guess what's available right today? Apprenticeships. They're building here the right to work. If you want to work, if you have the passion to provide for your family, you'll have the opportunity. Go into an apprenticeship. We can do that today. We don't have to wait for the government. We should be pressing and pushing and promoting that. And it hasn't happened. They talk about college degrees, and what they want is, this is my personal opinion, they want people to go to college and educate them about things to keep them in their feelings, to make them feel they've been, their feelings are being attacked, or they're invalid as a person, or the struggles of the past mean they don't have a way to the future, and they're being put down. And let me tell the American people this right now. This country has always been about survival. This country has always been about hard work, making it to the next day. We've gotten to a point where we're so blessed, entitlement has crept in. People think they deserve to just have a middle-class life based off waking up and not doing anything, where they can wake up and talk against the country, where they can talk against the interests, where they can argue for oppositional forces as if we're the bad guys. And I would simply say, if you don't buy into the American dream, believe. But for those who want to buy into the American dream, they should have opportunities. They should have the trades. They should have other diverse infrastructure to come to this district so they can work, so they can provide for the family. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. But if you do want to be here, buy in and let's work.
So what are some things that we can do if you make it to Congress to make an immediate impact on your district in terms of job creation, opportunities, apprenticeships, all the things that you're referring to here? What are some things that can actionably be done?
See, and that's a great question. The thing about being a freshman congressman, you're naive to think you're going to the Congress and you're just going to enact bills because you have the greatest ideas. I can propose whatever I want, and I have more to propose. The main thing I'm proposing is tax cut for all teachers, nurses, firefighters, and first responders, because they're the backbone of our society. If you make less than $100,000, I propose you pay no federal taxes. That will incentivize people coming into those job positions, and that is the foundation of this. I come from a teaching background. My mother was an educator. That is my passion. Education and kids are my passion, right? And then law enforcement, we know how important they are to society. We should thank everybody in law enforcement for the job they do, for all the stress they take and wear that proudly and still have to go home and maintain their families and not bring that home with them. So I think every person in first responders, law enforcement, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But what can we do? Clear convenient pathways. Clear convenient pathways. What I mean by that is we should have a one-stop shop. If a kid says, well, I want to be a plumber, right? My website, I want to be a plumber. Well, okay, you want to go into the trades, click this button, and then break down to the trades, click this button, and it's going to have a resource or the person to contact to get a seat there. Clear, convenient pathways. Okay. This is not anything that's controversial or hard to do, right? It's simple. Mm-hmm. However, it puts butts in seats. It tells you all the qualifications. Trades, military, law enforcement, these are all jobs we can do now. We have to stop talking about the future and look at what we can do right now. The goal is for you to put food on the table, a house over your head, clothes on your back. Nothing else. Everything else is luxury. Let's take care of the basics, return to the foundations now. I want everyone to be a tax-paying, informed citizen and have the opportunity to work. That's my goal as a congressman, right? To be the voice of this district when I go to Washington and be a liaison from Washington back to my district. We can look at President Trump's national agenda and how it fits in this district, right? I'll get it directly from the source and I'll tell you, okay, well, he's talking about a fair trade market, which people are called tariffs, right? Or he's talking about building and manufacturing in America. It's my job as a congressman to come and talk to the leaders and the constituents here of what that means for us. Not what it means in Ohio or California, what it means for us in our district. Mm-hmm. And in us in our district, that means more manufacturing jobs here. In us in our district, that means we're building things that are made by Americans, bought by Americans, right? So if things go bad across overseas, we can maintain ourselves here. And that's the Republican ideals, self-reliance. We have to get back to making America strong by getting back to our foundation. That's where it comes from.
You know, and this is something that people fail to remember sometimes when we get cynical or frustrated with politicians, is that they are elected to represent our interests and the economic interests of our district.
Absolutely.
And you know what? And when things happen like floods and dam failures and things like that, all of a sudden you need some help from the federal government. Well, it's your elected officials that
step in and represent that.
Right. And so we need to keep that in mind when we're having a full approach of that. But let's talk about manufacturing a little bit. Let's talk about the tariffs a little bit, because right now it's a hot button issue. And obviously it's very difficult to understand what's happening and why it's happening. And of course, the media isn't always super transparent on explaining this. But can you, for the lay person like myself, can you break down what Trump's concept of imposing tariffs is what he's trying to achieve as a result?
It's all about fair balance. It's all about fair balance. So what President Trump came out and said basically was, because America was the bright light in the world, right? Because we were doing great, the highest GDP and all these things, other companies were taxing us at a higher rate on our goods, and we weren't taxing them the same to bring us their goods. But we were doing so well, and other presidents just overlooked it and let it be, right? But things are starting to even out now. So all he's saying is, you're not going to tax us at a higher rate while you're getting our goods for base price or research and development for the drugs. We spoke about, he talked about the drugs. We do all the research and development, meaning we incur all the costs before we ever sell a drug. And then when we do sell the drug, we're recouping that cost amongst Americans while the Europeans, while the South Americans pay base price. That has to change. If anything, it needs to be reversed. That's all he's saying. Let's bring back fairness. Now, people would say, well, we're the ones paying the tariff costs, right? Americans, we're feeling the cost on our wallets. Things are going to take a second to even out, right? Anybody in business understands this. When you change the supply, when you change all those, it takes a minute to even out. But once it will even out, and then we'll get the surplus, and that will be the new normal. And then everybody would be thanking him, right? They want to judge this man and his agenda on a month's notice. It didn't take a month for it to get where it's at. It's taking longer than a month to fix it.
Well, these are trade deals. And what my understanding is President Trump has come in and he's renegotiating these trade deals using tariffs as a lever to generate better agreements. Now, in the long term, that's good for our local
short-term economy. You saw we've received $1 billion endorsements or $1 billion deals with the EU, He took care of that. One of the countries out of Asia, it was a couple $100 billion that is going to come through those tariffs. And so with that, we know he's a shrewd negotiator. We understand President Trump is great at what he does. He is great. He has been, for the business community, he is the best president we've had, at least modern history. So we need to trust what he's saying when it's coming to this fair trade market. If a businessman is in manufacturing, they have to understand, yes, there's a cost to do business in America, but it's going to be beneficial long term because we have to build America back to where we were, or it's going to be drastically different going in the future.
Do I have this right now? If I'm a manufacturer in America and the tariff changes in the short term are adding pressure, but in the long term, my goods and services are going to be more affordable because the competitors from other countries are going to be less affordable because of these new deals, and therefore I'm going to have more demand for my stuff.
More demand, but also not only more demand, you're employing Americans,
right?
So more people have a higher income at this point.
Yeah,
everything else will go down, right? Everything else, it's a full recyclical thing, right? Business, employers, employees, and it goes in circle. Our dollar stay in our community, more small businesses. So if you're making more money at your job, maybe your spouse is allowed to create her own side business where she doesn't have to work. She has the entrepreneur spirit, not small business. Small businesses are the bedrock of our community. We need those. Going back to the police, fire, police keep those small businesses safe, right? The first responders respond if something goes happen. That's a society. That's how you build it. We have a beautiful time because we've already seen this work. We've already seen with the GM plants, we saw that work, manufacturing in America, selling American goods. Now, NAFTA and everything else, when they sent these away, that's when we started to decline.
Can you help me understand what NAFTA did and what it is, what it did, and how it affected, say, Flint and the areas, GM and all that?
To give people a background of General Motors is the birthplace is Flint, Michigan, right? That was the bedrock. So before there was a motor city, there was vehicle city. Detroit has higher population, but in terms of significance, Flint and Detroit were on the same level. In the 70s, that's when it started going down. Coincidentally, correlation to the same time we got Democratic leadership. Over the same amount of time in the 70s. And that what NAFTA did, it opened up a trade agreement where we sent jobs to different countries for cheaper labor. And that's all it was. They were paying these people less than they were paying Americans. So they Mexico, Canada, the likes. And we sent General Motors. So Flint started shutting down plant by plant. And you have an industrial time that knows blue-collar work as this country was built in, regardless if it was steel or automotive or agriculture. We work with our hands in this country.
Just like your dad.
Just like my father and my father's father, my mother's father, aunts, uncles. When I say everybody in my family worked for GM, everybody minus my mother. That's what we built on. So when you start sending those jobs away, what I see is you're not invested in this country. That's how I take it as. And I'm not blaming GM because GM is the cornerstone of the state. Don't get it wrong. They are still, General Motors is strong. We want their support. We want them in district. I want more GM plants in district. But I'm saying how that hurt us in my city, in my family, when people are going outside and we have to drive downtown where Buick City once was, and it's a vacant lot that takes up majority of the city downtown. Yeah. How can you not have a little bit of resentment towards the deals that caused that? And so now, okay, I'm not crying about the past though. No, okay, this is where we are. How do we get better? Let's diversify our work structure, right? Let's bring other industry. I would love you. That's what I would do as a congressional member. I want to have conversations with the future. And by that, I mean, let's talk about AI. Let's get some of those developers here. You're in real estate. We have land in this district to develop. So we should be having roundtables with the emerging industries and the people that can make it happen, right? AI needs to come in. The EV world, we need to have those conversations, and we need to have real estate developers coming to look. We're shovel ready. We have the space. We have the workforce. We have everything. We have the airports. We have the hospitals. We have the infrastructure ready. Yeah. All we need is somebody to come in and invest in this community.
How do you make that happen?
One thing I learned about life is everything's about network.
Yeah.
Everything is about network. It's simply making it convenient, easy pathways for big business. having the conversation with big business, seeing what they need. And this conversation has already happened. That's what they need. They need a place. If I come here and I invest here, where are my people going to live? Okay. Do we have housing? If I come here and bring here, where my kids going to go to school? Okay. How are your schools rated? Hence, go back to the beginning. Let's take care of our teachers. Let's take care of our police force, our nurses. The infrastructure around that supports quality society. That's what we need to do. So when we're doing that now, why we're pushing kids into the trade now, get our tax base up. Because they provide schools, it provides clean food and grocery stores and better roads. That's what attracts big business. And then once we get big business, that's generational jobs, a job force, because we're talking 2,000 jobs, 3,000 jobs in district. Same thing they're doing in the semiconductors and Hemlock and this whole region. We need more of it.
Do you think that the Hemlock semiconductor concept could be applied in Flint? And when we met the other day at dinner, we were talking about something that was going to go into Flint, but it fell apart. Right. What was that?
So that was the, excuse me, forgetting the name of it. It was a semiconductor plant. I forget. Oh, SanDisk. It was SanDisk semiconductor plant.
Okay.
And the games they play, and
how does that work?
Let me explain it like this. First of all, I want to say this. I'm from Flint, born and raised in Flint, but I care about the whole district. Yes, I have a passion for my hometown because, and I don't want to see what happened to us happen anywhere else in this district because it's possible with the wrong people in charge, right? So what they did was they hung a carrot in front of people in the city, in Flint. Oh, we're going to bring you this semiconductor plant, 6,000 construction jobs, 2,000 annual, jobs, and it's going to take care of you for generations. It's going to change your life forever. Dangle the carrot. We're getting closer. $250 million of tax revenue to build this site. Taken, right? Used. Oh, now this is all during the last administration's term. They could have finalized it during the last administration. Didn't get finalized, right? Before his last day, he could have signed off on it. He could have made sure that happened with that. No. So when President Trump comes in, because of President Trump's policies, the unstable nature of the economic market, we're no longer going to invest in this region. That's what the governor in Michigan came out to say.
I heard that.
The reasoning, right?
Right.
That's bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. That's bullshit. Because if you wanted it done, you could have did it last year or the year before. And
why didn't they get it done? Sounds good.
It would have been a great thing. I'm not in the rooms. We need more representation because you would think the person in there, the congressman from this district would have came to this district and said, listen, this is what happened. I fought for it for this and that. Maybe if it was a state level, this is my district because it was in Genesee County. Why didn't we hear a proper explanation that would have changed people's lives? That's for her to answer. All I can say is it's more of the same. It's more of the same. That's what we've been getting for 50 years. We've been getting promises in this district and no change. Once again, where is our return on investment?
Yeah.
It hasn't been there. That's just another example. That's the most glaring example. And so, yes, Hemlock and all the other semiconductor plants or any other infrastructure could work across the whole district. Absolutely. We have space in each county for growth. Any business opportunity is available and welcome in these districts. That is my job now. I don't have to wait to get elected. I'm having these conversations now because you want to be changed. I want to see the change, right? Okay, well, let's start these conversations now. Let's go look. Let's go survey sites. Let's walk the sites. What do you need? Because the power players in Flint are tired of being lied to.
Yeah.
We're tired of, and the power players across this whole district are tired of being lied to and tired of talk without gaining anything from it. Yeah.
Well, another problem that aligns with that is the housing and the housing demand in the state of Michigan overall.
Yeah.
And as a real estate developer, kind of, it's hard to develop anything because of the cost of construction, with labor, materials, and the tax and the insurance.
Let's talk about it, please.
Boy, it's brutal. Let me tell you. And I'll tell you another thing. I'm really trying to learn about subsidies and TIFs and brownfield developments and all the other incentives that the state of Michigan purports to have. They are wildly difficult to understand and to achieve. Can you help with that? That'd be cool.
Well, regulation. You have federal regulation, you have state regulation. So state regulation, not so much. But when we start talking about construction costs and everything and right to work, the PLA is in place. basically for a layman understanding of a PLA, is basically the government mandates companies to use either unionized workforce or non-unionized workforce have to agree in a work in a unionized field. Pretty much, they have to do as if they were unionized and pay dues. That's not fair, because the government should not dictate who gets these bids. It should be open competition, and the best builder, the person with the best plan, the best rate, the best bid should win. You should not dictate. So if 75% of all construction members are not part of the union, are we saying that the 25% only deserve the bids? And as a business owner, why would I cut down? You're giving me 1/4 of my potential workforce to work for, and you're mandating I work under these rules. Why? That would be my question. Why? And why did we push that last administration, right? Why did they push that? The government, we have too much government interference. There's too much regulation. It's too hard for businesses to win. Like you were speaking on, it's too confusing when you're reading all the rules and red tape of how and what and where to go. It should be simple, right? ABC. You need to do this. You need to get this permit. You need to pay this X amount of money. Talk to this person. Work, right? Why is it? It's almost like they're promoting work, but they don't want you to work. They're going to make it super hard for you, right? Especially if you're a entrepreneur or a small business.
Yeah.
We don't want that. What we want is fair market competition. That's what we want. We want the best man for the job to get it. We have government things in place, child labor laws and OSHA. We're protected. This is not the 30s and the 20s when things were a little bit more dangerous and out of control. It's modern times. And so for a business owner like yourself, a real estate developer like yourself, you would be somebody I would come to, okay, tell me how this is affecting you. What do you need so you can succeed? Because what we should be doing as a country is promoting people like yourself so you can be successful. But your success is success for everybody, because your success is what drives and incentivizes other people to come to this district, especially real estate, 100%. Where they're living, the comforts of life, where their memories are made, the first place they're bringing their child home from the hospital. These are all things that we look forward to, right? That is the middle class. That's the Michigan way of life. So anything outside of that, I was always taught we either build or destroy. And so you have to really, am I building something up or am I destroying something? And the policies in place have been destroying. It's been destruction. We need less destruction and more construction.
All right, so Kristen McDonald-Rivet ran, and she's the incumbent right now.
Correct.
Which she was in the state house or state senator?
She was the state senator for the 35th.
Okay, and that's our district.
That's our district. That has been vacant since she left that spot. It left people unrepresented for the last 280 plus days.
What it means for us right now is that there's no vote in the state senate for our district.
Correct. There's no representation. So everything that's happening in Lansing right now, there's nobody speaking from Saginaw, Midland, or Bay City at all
in the Senate.
In this Senate right now. So everything that's going on business-wise, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, you're not being represented here as a businessman. That's greatly impacting every single person in this district.
Well, they're not taking my taxes in the meantime, right?
Oh, they're definitely taking your taxes.
They're still getting my taxes?
They're still paying you. You getting taxed with no representation. Where we hear that before? There's wars because of that.
Well, okay, so Governor Whitner is obviously a Democrat. Kristen McDonald-Rivet is a Democrat.
Right.
That seat was held by a Democrat.
Right.
Are they afraid that a Republican's going to win it?
A Republican is going to win it, and they'll lose the majority.
Okay, so that's the key.
The key is they'll lose the majority, therefore they wouldn't be able to push their agenda anymore. So what she did was she held it vacant. She went and announced a special election so they could push their agenda. Secondly, the only reason she's announcing it now is because if she held that until the election next year for Congress, I'm going to talk about it, right? She doesn't want that too close to that election. So they're playing politics with the seat and with our voters' representation. They're playing politics with all your representation. Once again, consistently, where is the return on investment? We've had a fair election, right? The person was voted in. Okay, well, after somebody leaves, vacates a seat, you're supposed to have a special election right away so somebody else can go and represent. Right. It's fair. Democrats can run for it too. But you did it because you knew it's a very good chance a Republican will win that seat. Therefore, you will lose the majority. So no, you don't get any representation because it serves her more than it serves the people. Consistent. They've been serving themselves instead of serving the community in the district.
When is that going to get resolved?
But they announced the special election. I believe the primary is early next year, and then the general is in, I believe, May of next year. And here's the thing. So you have a primary, then you have a general in May, and then you have to have another general in November. So now you have, or you may even have another primary. You have at least 3 races you have to run within the next 12 months. That's not fair.
And in the meantime, there's no representation.
No, you won't have the earliest you're gonna have representation is
May of next year, May of
26.
And then that's only going to be short term until a general election in November. Yeah, that's a mess.
That's purposeful, and that's what I'm saying. When we understand this game of politics and we understand how they're playing with the people, that's how they're doing it. Don't listen to people saying they care about you when they do things of this nature, right? That's a direct result of selfish personal promotion and self perseverance, right? And promoting their agenda versus equal representation and letting the people decide what agenda and what works. If it's a common sense agenda, people will vote for it. But obviously, people aren't going to vote for that. So you're trying to hold it hostage. That's all it is.
And nobody agrees with everybody's opinion. I don't agree with everything and that. But I will say that I admire you, the way you've been running your campaign, and I admire Bill G. And generally speaking, I admire all the politicians who run for office because you're putting yourself up to scrutiny. You're putting yourself up to slings and arrows, and people are going to look into your past. They're going to change around what you say, and they're going to paint you in a negative light, and your family's going to be affected by that. So, even though it's tough, we admire and appreciate and respect that you're running for public office, and I thank you for doing that.
Well, I appreciate it. I think for great progress, it takes sacrifice, and for anybody in your field to get somewhere, you have to give something. And my life has been dedicated to service, has been dedicated to protection, and this is no different. This allows me to teach my daughter what it is to be American and why we have to do things we do. And she'll see. I want her to see the attacks on her father. So let her know everybody's not your friend. Everybody doesn't have your best interests. And sometimes people will say one thing and do another. Those are all valuable life lessons. We cannot remain soft in this country. We have gotten soft as a nation. You can't joke no more. You can't go outside and say how you truly feel without trying to get canceled. No. Life is hard. Life is rough. You have to fight every single day. And people haven't stopped fighting. Let's continue to fight freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms to protect our family, freedom for fair market competition, right? Let the best man win. Let the best man win. Be prepared. They say success is opportunity and preparation. Hey, be prepared for when your opportunity comes and you'll be successful. And if you're not, learn from the mistakes and do it again and keep doing it again till you're successful. That's why I don't knock anybody who got rich, who got famous, or got rich and successful, because I know a lot of failures came before they had that success.
You're a girl dad.
Absolutely.
What do you want for your daughters?
I want them to grow up in a world where, first and foremost, they have confidence, they're strong, they're playing sports against other girls like them. That's a big one. I want them to grow up in a world knowing that they're just as capable and successful, but I also want them to know the value of being a woman, right? What the God's gift of being a woman. We understand that women are the mothers of our society, right? They're the ones who gave birth to the nation. Understand that. So I want her to understand, both of them to understand the power they have as women and how important it is for them to grow so they can raise their kids to be upstanding citizens, because they are our teachers. They're my children. First teacher is their mother. And, shout out to their mother. Their mother has been great for them. She's a senior chief in the Navy. And she has done well for herself. She came from humble beginnings. So there are no excuses. We work just like everyone else. And when they grow, have children, be plentiful, raise them in the right way, raise them with manners, and be strong, be successful, be athletic, be competitive. That's what I want for my daughters. I want them to have the same opportunities as anybody else who's working hard in this country, that all Americans deserve if they work hard to buy into this system. That's what I want for them.
That's what I want for my daughters too.
See, And you got 4, so you're ahead of me. So I'll take notes from you. But it is, you have life-changing moments. Seeing the birth of my daughter, right? And being a quote-unquote girl dad has changed me as much as anything else in my life.
How so?
It makes you realize, first and foremost, what's important, right? Like I said, in the military and law enforcement, I missed some days. I missed some dates. And so it got to a point where if I'm going to miss it, I better be missing it for a damn good reason. And then also it makes me understand is I really don't want to miss them too much more. So I wanted to get to a level of success where I can be there. You know, a problem with our generation, not a problem, but the thing we go through as men, right? We grind so hard to reach a level of success that we've had this dream, I'm going to be successful since I was a kid. I worked my whole life to get here. And once you get there, then you start having a family, and now you got to balance, damn, I'm on the precipice of everything I wanted to be. But now I got these babies at home. Uh-huh. How do I balance, right? And so then sometimes you fall short. Sometimes you work too much. You come home, you bring some work home with you, and you tell them, not right now, baby. Or you get agitated because they just want to play. They're excited to see you. Mm-hmm. So paying attention to being present with my daughter and being present was something I had issues with coming from the military and everything else. And I know somebody else understands what I'm saying. Figuring out, they made me be present, right? When my daughter's tugging on my coattail or, you know, daddy, I want to play, or I missed you, and daddy, I love you so much. It's those things that soften you up. You be like, damn, I've never had this unconditional type of love, man. And this, I'll tell you one quick story. I had bought a motorcycle, right? So I started riding Harleys, right? Got me a Road Glide, salt denim, beautiful, man, with a tour pack.
Little quarter life crisis.
Yeah, you know it. So I'm hitting it. Long story short, I dropped it. And I broke my sacral. I fractured my sacral. I collapsed the lung. I broke my ribs, right? Wow. And so I'm laid up for a little while. You know, I missed a couple months of work, whatnot. And I'm at home laying down, and my daughter, she's 3 at the time, she jumps on me. Oh, man, nah. She made me rise up. Nah, that was pain. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my family was getting upset. But I was like, no. And she was like, Daddy, well, get up, Daddy. Just come play. Get up, Daddy. And so you say, how did it change? Because then you realize, like, I'm Superman to her. And she's never seen Superman without a cape.
Yeah, you got to be strong.
You got to be strong. You have to be strong. And so then I said, okay, well, I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize me not being here for her. Everything I do from here on out is going to make sure that it's in the best interest of everybody. And that's what a daughter would do. That's what children would do, but a daughter especially, that's what it would do. It would make you realize I have to march in the right direction. Hence why we have to protect our children against everything going on. Hence why we have to get the agenda that promotes living a lifestyle that is conducive to proper rearing of children, proper safety, proper understanding of what the world is about. We have to fight the ideological radicalists of the left, the radical nature of the left, because they're promoting things that are anti what I'm promoting. I'm promoting my children raised up to be stand-up citizens. They're promoting their children to grow into be, I don't know, identify as giraffes or something of a different nature. I don't know. It's I don't agree with it, to say it.
Well, it's safe to say we both agree that we both want the best for our daughters, and we're doing everything we can to try to build a world and an environment that we think is best for them, and I think that's noble.
That's all it's about. Let's make the world a better place for our children to be raised in.
Right on.
As simple as that. And let's continue. And the ways of the past, I told you history is major. The ways of the past give hints. And, success leaves breadcrumbs. And so it gives hints of how to do that. We had it just fine. The marriage rates were just fine until WIC and the Civil Rights Bill were introduced and destroyed families, took the man out the family. They always say the government took the man out the family so they could play daddy. Uncle Sam could play daddy. And that's what's happened. And so when you talk about SNAP benefits and everything else, that's where it comes from. They have the people looking for the government for help and assistance when all the help and assistance they need is right here. The hands ain't calloused enough. It's survival. Let's get back to it. And that does not talk about any specific race. That talks to everyone. We are all the same, and we all have opportunities 24/7. Get up and work. For those who are not, and for those that are, continue to work.
Yeah, that's the right message.
Yeah. So.
All right, I'll zoom out real quick. National politics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is the one core issue most important to you right now?
I'm biased. I'm a law enforcement guy.
Okay,
I'm
let's
a law
talk about that
enforcement guy.
because
So
there's some things going on with national politics, with National Guard, and
I would love it. Listen, let's talk about. It's a perfect segue. We just talked about building or destroying. Are we talking about crime and military or National Guard going into DC? Right. Anybody who lives in DC the last couple of years have seen carjackings have gone up, violence on the streets, taking over the Navy Yard.
Yes.
The National Harbor, which is in Maryland where the casino is, the MGM Casino.
Mm-hmm. I've been there.
Before they put a curfew in place, you couldn't take your family at night because it was unpleasant. For whatever reason, it was unpleasant. It was teens up there just running amok. They put a curfew in place. All of a sudden, it became what it was envisioned. Beautiful restaurants, beautiful scenery, a place you can take. I could take my 5-year-old daughter and go get on the Ferris wheel, right? Go to the coffee shop or go get some new hot sauces or whatever we chose to do. It was a beautiful place for it, right? It's picturesque. But that's because safety came involved, legislation. What President Trump is simply saying is, well, if we didn't have crime running rampant, we wouldn't have to use drastic means. But obviously, it's too much for the police force to handle. Once again, we need to incentivize more police funding, so we can get more policing and better policing on the streets to handle what we have going on. Secondly, we have to clean up our streets. We're responsible for it. DC specifically is the capital of this nation.
Mm-hmm.
When people come visit this country, they're coming to DC. International incidents don't look good. You have people from different countries and they're getting mobbed. They're getting, robbed. In DC, that better be our safest city. So anybody who's opposed to that, I would ask you, do you want safety in your city?
Why are they opposed to it? What does the other side of that equation sound like?
Well, people have said, government overreach. The left would tell you is racist or biased. He's only targeting cities with Democratic mayors or high populations of minorities. But I would counter that. I would say all inner cities have the same issues of violence, right? All the major metropolises, they have the issue because you have so many people on top of each other. It's just condensed. It's a condensed area. It's okay to need help. It's okay to ask for help. It's not a racist policy to fix crime. It's only racist when you interpret that as black people are the ones who are doing crime.
Well, Chicago is another city that
needs help. That's run amok. Gang violence. Chicago and LA are the two places that are known for gangs. Chicago is the gang capital of the Midwest for sure, and probably the whole eastern board of the country. They need help.
So we're talking about the National Guard coming in to create security. What is the actual plan?
Well, I'm not sure about the plan because National Guard and military police don't have the thing about it. They don't have jurisdiction.
Right.
And so they can't do police functions. However, presence is a key component of security.
Deterrence.
Deterrence. And so it's mitigation, is deterrence. And so being outside, knowing that if there is violence in front of a National Guardsman, right, if they can articulate it, they have a right to be there and they can handle that situation until the police arrive and then gather facts and, enforce law enforcement. But presence is the main thing. I think even more so than that, the idea that we have these many wars going on in our country where people are not safe to be should be the conversation, right? To me, for the people who are making an argument against, I would simply ask, what have y'all done that's been successful in deterring and stopping this crime? Because for year on year, we look at the crime statistics of these cities, the top 10 cities with the murder or high visible crimes, right? It was murders, break-in, assault. Usually it's repeat offenders, and it's in these cities, right? So how could you argue against it? President Trump is really throwing you a lifeline because if you clean that stuff up, more people are going to come to your city. More revenue is going to flow through your city. More people are going to come back to your city who left because of violence. It all works. It's like the Maslow principles, right? You start with shelter and food, and then you go to safety, and everything builds on top of that. That's what we're doing. We have to fix the foundation. And even in this district, that's a national thing, but in this district, we have 4 counties, a piece of a fifth. but we're at different levels. You know, in my district, we're still fixing our foundation. We have to get back and fix the foundation. In Midland and Bay City, we have businesses here sustained, but we want to take them to the next level, and we want to attract other businesses. And that's the same thing in these cities. They're fixing their foundation, whereas other cities don't need the foundation fixed. They can build upon what's already there. President Trump is simply fixing that foundation. There is no argument against, there should never be an argument against fixing crime, violent crime, any crime, but violent crime especially. We should all be able to walk outside our doors and feel safe.
All right. When we met, it was at Bill G. Schuette's birthday dinner.
Absolutely.
You happened to be at the same table. We said hello. And when I asked you what your story was, you said, "Oh, I'm running for Congress." And you came alive.
Yeah.
And you started to smile, and you stood up, and you tightened your suit, and you were looking sharp, and you laid out your vision for why you were running for Congress. And one of the things I said to you was, "Hey, this sounds great.
Yeah.
But when you get there, don't change."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Convince us you won't change when you get there.
But the thing about me is, and we were talking off camera, I am my own man. I've always been my own man for hate it or love it. I believe in what I believe in, and amongst everything that I am, that makes me an American, and that makes me a Michigander. I have my city tattooed on me, right? Because I'm proud of that. But more so, I sacrificed a lot to even run for this, to come here and try to represent us, because it wasn't being done in a way I thought was going to win. Right? And really get us there. So I sacrificed that, not to put my name on the list to say I'm a congressman, but so we can have representation from this district. So we could walk pride knowing that somebody's in Washington is going to bring those federal fundings and attention and opportunities to this district. People ask me about the last minute. I say, listen, President Biden, they asked me about dementia and all that stuff. I said, well, I don't know if he has dementia, but I know damn sure he forgot about us. No longer is that apropos. No longer. President Trump hasn't forgot about us. He told us he's going to make America great. He's going to bring manufacturing back. That's what I'm promoting. That's what I'm pushing. I can't be bought. We'll see that through my campaign. It's a very grassroots campaign. I didn't come from money. I didn't come from any other backing. I came here as myself, and I talked to every single person in that room that day and anywhere else. Whatever you heard about me, come have a conversation. I don't run for conversations. I don't run from anything you've heard. Let's have a conversation. That's how you know, because I'm looking you dead in your eye. Now I'm consistent. I'm the same way every single day. Like my man in the military says, I'm up and down 12 to 6. I'm straight up and down. You can see it.
All right. So if anybody wants to learn more about your campaign or make a contribution or just get to know you better, where would you send them? Hassan4mi.com. So that's HASSAN 4 FORMI.com. Amir Hassan, thanks for being on the Talk Midland podcast.
Sir, Logan, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And for everyone listening, I look forward to meeting you all, seeing you at the county fairs, the basketball, football games. I'll be there. I'll have my daughter with me. Please come speak. And I look forward to serving. I look forward to representing. I am at your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.